America, the land of opportunity, home of the brave, and a place where we apparently can't stop arguing about the economy. On one side we have Donald Trump, a man whose love for making deals is only surpassed by his love for putting his name on things. On the other, Kamala Harris, a former prosecutor who might be just the person to finally audit Trump's economic promises. Their approaches couldn't be more different. Trump, with his tax cuts and deregulation, aimed to unleash the power of the free market. Harris, on the other hand, champions a more active role for government in addressing income inequality and expanding social safety nets. It's a clash of economic ideologies that will shape the future of the country. So buckle up, America, because things are about to get economically interesting. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. This is about your job, your healthcare, your kids' future. It's about whether you believe in trickle-down economics or a hand-up approach. It's about deciding what kind of America we want to live in. Over the next few sections, we'll break down the key differences between Trump and Harris's economic plans. We'll examine their tax policies, trade deals, regulatory approaches, and healthcare visions. We'll look at who benefits the most and who might be left behind. And by the end, you'll have a better understanding of what's at stake in this economic showdown. Let's talk taxes, baby. It's a topic that can make your head spin, but it's crucial to understand how different policies can impact your wallet and the economy at large. It's the issue that makes everyone reach for their wallets and their calculators. Taxes are the lifeblood of government funding, but they also directly affect our personal finances. Trump, the self-proclaimed king of debt, promised to cut taxes for everyone, especially businesses. His approach was to stimulate the economy by putting more money back into the hands of corporations and individuals. His signature achievement, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, slashed corporate tax rates and provided modest relief for some individuals. The corporate tax rate was cut from 35% to 21%, a significant reduction aimed at boosting business investment. The idea, less taxes mean businesses have more money to hire more people, leading to an economic boom. The hope was that this would create a trickle-down effect, benefiting workers and consumers alike. Harris, meanwhile, sings a different tune. She believes that the benefits of Trump's tax cuts were unevenly distributed. She argues that Trump's tax cuts primarily benefited the wealthy and corporations, leaving everyday Americans with crumbs. The disparity in who benefits from these cuts is a central point of her critique. Her plan? Increase taxes on the wealthiest Americans and corporations to fund social programs like universal pre-K and tuition-free college. Harris envisions a society where everyone has access to essential services, funded by those who can afford to pay more. Think of it as a Robin Hood approach to taxation, taking from the rich to give to the, well, everyone else. Now here's the rub. While this sounds appealing to many, it also raises concerns about economic growth and investment. Trump argues that his tax cuts will lead to economic growth that benefits everyone. He believes that by reducing the tax burden on businesses, they will have more resources to expand and create jobs. The jury's still out on that one. The long-term effects of these tax cuts are still being debated by economists and policymakers. Some economists say the cuts have had a modest positive impact on the economy, while others argue they've primarily benefited the wealthy and increased the national debt. The increase in national debt is a significant concern, as it could have long-term implications for economic stability. Harris, on the other hand, faces the challenge of convincing voters that higher taxes on the wealthy won't stifle economic growth. She needs to show that her plan can create a more equitable society without harming the economy. It's a tough sell, but one she believes is necessary to create a fairer and more just society. Harris argues that investing in social programs will lead to a more educated and healthier workforce, which in turn can drive economic growth. So, who's right? Well, as with most things in life, the answer is complicated. Both approaches have their merits and drawbacks, and the best path forward may lie somewhere in between. Both approaches have their pros and cons. Trump's tax cuts might boost economic growth in the short term, but they come at the cost of increasing the national debt and potentially exacerbating income inequality. Trump's tax cuts might boost economic growth in the short term, but they come at the cost of increasing the national debt and potentially exacerbating income inequality. The long-term sustainability of such cuts is a point of contention. Harris's tax increases could fund important social programs, but they risk discouraging investment and slowing economic growth. The challenge is to balance the need for revenue with the potential impact on economic activity. Ultimately, the debate over taxes is a reflection of broader values and priorities. Do we prioritize immediate economic growth, or do we invest in long-term social programs? The answer may shape the future of our society. As voters, it's up to us to weigh these options and decide which path aligns with our vision for the future. The choice we make will have lasting implications for generations to come. So, next time you hear a politician talking about taxes, remember, it's not just about numbers, it's about values, priorities, and the kind of society we want to build. Let's make an informed choice. Hold on to your hats, folks, because things are about to get globally messy. We're diving into the complex world of international trade, where policies can make or break economies. Let's talk trade. Trump, never one to shy away from a fight, launched trade wars on multiple fronts, slapping tariffs on goods from China, Mexico, and the European Union. His aggressive stance was a bold move aimed at shaking up the global trade landscape. His goal? To protect American jobs and industries from what he sees as unfair competition. By imposing these tariffs, Trump hoped to revive American manufacturing and reduce the trade deficit. Harris, on the other hand, believes that Trump's trade wars are reckless and harmful to the American economy. She argues that these broad tariffs are more like blunt instruments that cause more harm than good. She supports free trade agreements that are fair and benefit American workers. Harris envisions a trade policy that opens up new opportunities for American businesses while ensuring that workers are not left behind. But she's not afraid to use targeted tariffs to address unfair trade practices by other countries. These targeted tariffs are designed to be precise, addressing specific issues without causing widespread economic disruption. Think of it as a scalpel versus a sledgehammer approach to trade. While Trump's broad tariffs are like a sledgehammer, Harris's targeted tariffs are more like a scalpel, aiming to cut out the problem without damaging the whole system. Trump's tariffs have certainly made their mark. They've raised prices for consumers, hurt American businesses that rely on imported goods, and strained relationships with key trading partners. The ripple effects of these tariffs have been felt across various sectors of the economy. But have they brought back American jobs? The evidence is mixed, with some industries benefiting while others suffer. While some factories have seen a resurgence, others have struggled to cope with the increased costs of imported materials. Harris argues that her more targeted approach to trade will protect American jobs without causing widespread economic damage. She believes that a balanced approach can achieve the desired outcomes without the negative side effects. She believes in working with allies to address unfair trade practices and using diplomacy to open up new markets for American goods and services. By fostering strong international relationships, Harris aims to create a more stable and prosperous economic environment. So, who's got the right approach to trade? It's a complex issue with no easy answers. Both strategies have their merits and drawbacks, and the best path forward may lie somewhere in between. Trump's protectionist policies might appeal to some workers who feel left behind by globalization, but they risk triggering a global trade war that could hurt the American economy. The potential for escalating tensions and retaliatory measures from other countries is a significant concern. Harris's more nuanced approach, while less flashy, might be a better way to protect American interests in the long run. By carefully targeting unfair practices and working collaboratively with international partners, she aims to create a sustainable and equitable trade environment. Fasten your seatbelts. It's time to navigate the regulatory landscape. The debate over regulation is as old as business itself, and it's more relevant today than ever. Trump, a man who loves cutting ribbons almost as much as he loves cutting taxes, made deregulation a cornerstone of his economic agenda. His vision was clear: reduce the red tape and let businesses thrive. His administration rolled back regulations on everything from environmental protection to financial services. The idea was to create a more business-friendly environment, one where companies could innovate and expand without being bogged down by government rules. The goal? Unleash American businesses from the shackles of government overreach and watch the economy soar. Proponents argue that less regulation means more freedom for businesses to grow, hire, and contribute to the economy. Harris, however, sees regulations as essential safeguards for workers, consumers, and the environment. She believes that without these protections, the most vulnerable in society would suffer the most. She argues that Trump's deregulation spree has benefited corporations at the expense of everyday Americans. The rollback of environmental regulations, for instance, has led to increased pollution, affecting the health of communities. Her plan? Strengthen regulations in areas like worker safety, environmental protection, and consumer finance. Harris believes that a well-regulated economy is a fairer and more just economy. Think of it as a tug-of-war between corporate profits and the public good. On one side, you have businesses pushing for fewer restrictions to maximize profits. On the other, you have advocates for stronger regulations to ensure safety, fairness, and sustainability. Trump's supporters argue that his deregulation efforts have unleashed economic growth and created jobs. They point to the booming stock market and low unemployment rates as evidence of his success. They argue that a thriving business sector leads to more job opportunities and higher wages, benefiting everyone in the long run. The stock market's performance and the low unemployment rates during his tenure are often cited as proof. However, critics argue that deregulation comes at a cost: increased pollution, unsafe working conditions, and a greater risk of financial crises. They believe that the short-term economic gains are outweighed by the long-term damage to society and the environment. Harris believes that strong regulations are essential for a fair and just economy. She argues that without these rules, corporations would prioritize profits over people, leading to exploitation and harm. She argues that regulations protect workers from exploitation, safeguard the environment for future generations, and prevent corporations from engaging in reckless behavior that could harm the economy. So, who's right? The debate is complex and multifaceted. Does deregulation lead to economic prosperity, or does it come at the expense of the public good? The answer may not be straightforward, as both sides present compelling arguments. It's a question with no easy answers. The challenge lies in finding a balance that promotes economic growth while also protecting the interests of workers, consumers, and the environment. Finding the right balance between promoting economic growth and protecting the interests of workers, consumers, and the environment is one of the biggest challenges facing policymakers today. The future of our economy and society depends on how we navigate this delicate balance.